A rapidly growing major hurricane Erin has its eyes set on the Atlantic. However, impacts will be felt even in a direct way for some. Meanwhile, behind this storm, a new area to watch for potential tropical trouble. Welcome in, folks. Great to see you on this happy and wonderful start to the new week, Monday, August 18th. And we are trucking along through this month, and you would expect so because we've got hurricanes and other areas to watch out there. Definitely feeling like hurricane season, and definitely plenty to break down in today's video, so we won't waste a lot of time. With that said, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name's Gerald. I'm a meteorologist at WCCB Charlotte. And if you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell for the latest notifications. It really helps me out, helps grow this channel, helps more people find it. And you can always help a nice 21-year-old person try to follow their passion by doing that. And it's free to hit the subscribe button, so why not, right? Always appreciative to you folks. Also, let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what you're seeing out there. And let me know where you think these storms are going on down in the comments after we're done combing through all the data. All right, let's go ahead and dive on into that latest info. And you can see next to me, this is the latest run of our American computer model showing, there was Hurricane Erin right near the Bahamas, pulling up north, bringing that wind field with it, expanding, getting a very angry Atlantic. And then behind it, you can see that next disturbance getting generally in the direction of Florida within the next 10 days. So not in La La Land with that second system either. Now, we're going to start with Erin today because obviously I think that's still the big pressing matter. And you can see it here churning away on satellite in the southwest Atlantic, not far from the Turks and Caicos Islands here. In fact, just north of the islands, and maintaining, major hurricane status as a Category 4. Now, the big thing everyone's been talking about on social media with Erin recently is it has continued to wobble further west than maybe some of the models have suggested, and even outside of the cone from time to time. And while that is true, if you look in the grand scheme of things, it's not super far off what the cone has had. And I still think we're going to stay within this cone, but I'll be first to tell you, I do think we will be on the western edge of it, meaning the storm likely to be closer to North Carolina than Bermuda by probably a pretty good bit. Either way, the center are going to stay offshore. That's the good news. But the storm is expanding in size, and with that, and with the latest forecast of a strong Category 2 storm, borderline Category 3 here, only a couple hundred miles off the Carolina coast by the time we get into the evening of Wednesday and into the morning of Thursday. We're going to have a very angry Atlantic, and I even think some of the outer winds of Erin could clip the Outer Banks and bring tropical storm conditions, bringing high waves, bringing overwash, coastal flooding, beach erosion, all sorts of problems. And up and down the eastern seaboard, going to see impacts as well out of this. We're going to see life-threatening rip currents, rough surf from the Keys all the way up to even Atlantic Canada, and some of those strong winds could even try to clip Cape Cod. Probably not quite as bad as the Outer Banks are going to get, but you too could even see some gusty conditions as the storm kind of bombs out and pulls offshore. All right, so that's the latest track from Hurricane Erin. I'll zoom out even more. You can see it going all the way out to sea there up near Atlantic Canada. But behind it, you can see we also have another area to watch for potential development down into the islands, now up to a 50% shot of becoming that next named storm. So let's go ahead and take a look at satellite, analyze Erin a little more in depth and that next potential wave, and then we'll kind of break down these pieces one by one. Sure is looking like hurricane season in the Atlantic. Not hard to find where Hurricane Erin is. Obviously, that big beast of a storm north of Hispaniola and dangerously close to the Turks and Caicos Islands. But back in the main development region, this is the next area we're going to watch, and you already will note just how far south this is. In fact, we've got one area really trying to get going in that ITCZ, very far down there. I mean, this is in the same latitudes as South America. Then another little piece of energy involved with it up to the north, and then right behind it, another wave rolling off of Africa. So, I mean, we are in the heart of, Atlantic hurricane season here, and the peak of it's still about 3 or so weeks away. We're getting maybe not an early head start, but definitely a climatologically, pretty normal start to the season here with how active things are going. Now, obviously, we know where Erin is going, but this one behind it, this is the one that is going to have a better shot of, I'd say, having direct impacts on land. And you saw that even with the area of possible development. It could be really anywhere from the Caribbean to the Southwest Atlantic, according to the National Hurricane Center. And that makes sense just given how far south this one is. Remember, Erin was all the way up near the Cape Verde Islands. So just think about the latitude difference here. Just thinking about it that way, you know that this next one's going to be one that we need to watch a little bit more closely due to how far south it's starting out. Now, Erin, we saw on satellite loop here from an infrared standpoint, but take a look at the satellite imagery from a visible standpoint. We've got plentiful lightning here in the eye wall right there on the southern end, indicative of a powerful hurricane and one that is maintaining its strength quite well here. And now there is just a little bit of sheer and dry air on the north side here. So you'll notice the storm is not completely symmetrical, a little bit beefier on the south side, but either way, this is, again, a powerful major hurricane churning away. And, thank the Lord that the center of it right here, this kind of core, is offshore. Turks and Caicos dodging a bullet right now. The Outer Banks likely going to dodge a bullet, at least from the worst of it. It's still going to see impacts, obviously. But we have been blessed with Erin so far that we have not seen the core of it work over any sort of land here into North America. So that is definitely good news for us. Will we be as lucky with the next one? Well, that's what we're going to try to find out today and probably really through the rest of this week. But first, let's break down the rest of Erin's life, those impacts it's going to bring, and when we can finally kiss this storm goodbye. Let's show you the latest run of the European computer model. You can see initializing pretty well with Erin. This is right at the time I'm recording this, right around 11 a.m., having that 930 millibar storm down near the Turks and Caicos. Let's time it out. The storm moving pretty slowly now. The European, though, and a lot of our models confident this thing's going to strengthen once again. And by the time we're getting into your Tuesday afternoon, I mean, the storm has not moved a whole lot. It's definitely pulled north by then, and even stronger than it is now. Probably not in a significant way, but I would imagine maintaining Category 4 strength throughout today and into tomorrow, and getting that millibar number down into the 920s. Potentially could flirt with the 9-teens, would not shock me. Notice, though, the storm stays offshore. Let's pause it again here. You can see there, the European gets us down into the 9-0s, if you will, 907 by Wednesday morning. I mean, folks, that is a powerful storm. And remember, you do not need a storm of that magnitude to make landfall, to feel impacts. Again, this is Wednesday morning. The ocean is going to be very angry from Florida all the way up through the Carolinas and Virginia at this point. Life-threatening rip currents, rough surf, and conditions starting to go downhill, especially into the Outer Banks. Remember, the Outer Banks are basically an island chain out here. So you've got the ocean on both sides. So it's a lot easier to flood these sorts of topographical features compared to the mainland. And that's why the Outer Banks are under the gun here for higher end impacts, as well as the fact that they just stick out. I mean, that's been a problem for the Outer Banks for a long time in terms of hurricanes, as they stick out from the U.S. So anytime these storms curve up the coastline or even out to sea, you have a higher end chance of getting direct impacts there. The worst of it probably going to be right into here for the Outer Banks. This is overnight Wednesday into early Thursday, and look how close the storm is. I mean, powerful hurricane, probably only, give or take 200 miles, I'd say, right there offshore, and we could see some of the outer bands clip the island. So I do expect tropical storm conditions in places like Hatteras, and by the way, newly issued mandatory evacuations as of last night for Hatteras, and we're already seeing the beach cams watch those people pull on out. And good news, because like I've been mentioning, with or without a direct impact, we're going to get overwash, meaning these big waves are going to crash over the highway. I believe it's Highway 12 out here is the one that connects the islands, and that's the one we are expecting the highest impacts on here again in that time frame, overnight Wednesday into Thursday. Then we get on into your Friday, and the storm well offshore of New England, but still getting bigger and bigger. I mean, look at these isobars, fully closed isobars that go, I mean, this has got to be probably, maybe 1,000 miles in diameter. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but, 500 to 1,000 miles in diameter. That's a huge storm, folks. And because of that, the wind field is going to be something that, quite frankly, is going to be very big. And because the storm is close enough to land, some of us are going to feel those winds. So let's go ahead and take a look at the wind map here and give you the latest on how strong the winds could get for coastal sections of the United States. Here she comes Wednesday morning, and we're going to just show the mid-Atlantic because I do think, again, the Outer Banks are going to be the highest impacted, and you can see coastal Massachusetts here as well. So I think it'll be good to get you folks in on this map as well. This is Wednesday morning, pretty calm. I mean, definitely breezy at the beaches, pretty strong offshore flow for most of us. It's the overnight and the evening. Check this out. I mean, ooh, that's some gusty winds, and that's close. I mean, just offshore, 150 mile an hour wind gusts. That's obviously going to make the ocean very mad. But right here along Cape Hatteras and kind of the Kill Devil's Hill area, we're gusting at 50 to 60. So I do expect tropical storm watches and warnings to go up for the extreme Outer Banks here. Maybe just all of the Outer Banks, honestly, by the time we get into the next couple of days for this very gusty conditions. And it might not even be that rainy. It could just be super windy. But if you get some rain to mix in as well. The winds are going to be even stronger as it mixes those very strong mid-level winds down to the surface. But this would do it. And remember, you've got the wind coming around like this, so this is going to be bringing some sort of surge, coastal flooding, and a lot of overwash as these waves are going to be very tall. So the Outer Banks, take those evacuation orders seriously. We know all too well it does not take much out here, and it seems like every time we get a big storm to ride up the coast, we see at least a couple houses get washed away, which obviously you hate to see. Now, you keep it going, and eventually these strong winds do clip portions of Cape Cod. Now, not as bad as the Outer Banks, but Friday afternoon, gusting near tropical storm strength. Probably won't get warnings there, but wind gusts definitely going to be a gusty one up here into the Cape, and just gusty up and down the eastern seaboard, really, as the storm moves up. But obviously, these pieces of land that stick further out can get a little bit worse than everybody else. Final thing I'll show you here from Erin, these are maximum wave heights and swells, the forecast. Large, powerful, life-threatening waves, here for areas along the Outer Banks. Just offshore, we're talking 15 to 20 feet waves. Some of those going to be trying to crash over the islands, and that's why we have those evacuation orders. I mean, these are very tall waves, folks. And the Pamlico Sound even going to be getting waves in that 5-foot range, which is more than enough to cause problems. So extensive beach erosion likely due to strong, long period wave energy, coastal flooding, ocean overwashes likely, peaking Wednesday into Thursday, and portions of Highway 12 on the Outer Banks may be impassable for several days. So this is pretty intense wording here from the National Weather Service out here in, I believe, Morehead City. Yeah, there you go. Newport/Morehead City, North Carolina. So take it serious. Erin, may not be making landfall, but still going to see plentiful impacts out of this storm as it pulls up the east coast. All right, that's all I got on Erin. Let's take a look at that next storm potential behind it and where it may be going and how strong it may get over the next 7 to 10 days. Let's start things right off with some good old-fashioned spaghetti from our ensemble members. These are the European members, or the European suite. Remember, all of these lines are just little models that make up the European in a sense. It's probably the best way to explain it, even if it's not completely accurate. But basically, these are a bunch of different types of European model runs. They put in little different starting points in the data, and they get all these different outputs. And this is really what we use to find the range of possibilities for any given storm. And still confident here that Erin is going to pull out to sea. And I know this gets a little messy, but let me kind of scratch out the stuff I don't want you to see right now, okay? Pretend all that doesn't exist for now, at least. We're going to get to it in a second. But to the north, though, this is the track of Erin. And you can see all the members here still offshore, but some of them are getting, dangerously close to North Carolina there. Still not going to get direct impacts, but easily, I think, tropical storm conditions definitely becoming a high likelihood there in that part of the state. Now, elsewhere, you notice another little cluster out here. What in the world's going on here over the state of Florida and over Cuba? By the time we get this is right around 10 days from now. That's the next wave I showed you. See how you get some of these members starting to develop it here near the Antilles and riding up right through the island chain, some a little to the north, some a little to the south, but a lot of these members ending up near the Bahamas or Florida by the time we get to 10 days from now. And that's the European ensembles. They're not the only ones showing it. The GFS ensemble is also showing this idea. Now, 2 clusters on the GFS. One, get this system in the Gulf in 10 days. Another, get it just offshore of the southeast near the Bahamas in 10 days. Obviously, that's going to, pique people's interest, including mine, seeing model runs like this. And I think it's got legs, to put it lightly. Now, there's a lot of questions to be answered still. I'll immediately start with that. This one has, a shot it could curve out to sea like Erin did. It has a shot it could plow right into the Gulf. It could get ripped apart by the island chain, or the islands, I should say, from Cuba through Hispaniola, these mountainous regions. The jury's still out on basically all the different possibilities here. And because we have all those possibilities still, it's important that we keep watching it. Now, let me show you the latest run of the GFS model just to give you an idea of, what in the world we've got going on here and what we're talking about. Here we go. So this is Erin, obviously that big blob pulling north. You can see similar to the European there. Look what comes behind it though. This is Friday afternoon. We'll pause it. And we've got a storm trying to develop on the European model, or the GFS, I should say, here just north of the Virgin Islands and north of Puerto Rico. Not overly strong at that point in time, but begins to develop, and we get a tropical storm in the Bahamas, and basically right where the ensembles have it in that 7 to 10 day range just off the coast of Florida. And the GFS model, at least pulling this one on up out to sea, very similar path to Erin, but definitely strengthening it into our next hurricane. Now, the question is, will that happen or will this get in the Gulf? Now, the GFS has been not all over the place, but it has had different solutions. This was the run prior, had it into the Keys. Run before that, the same place. The run before that, got it into the Gulf. The run before that, a little bit south towards Cuba. So you get the point. There's uncertainty here, but there's high confidence that something's going to be there. I mean, in that time frame. So that's definitely something to think about here. And this will be right around the 25th through the 27th of August is when a lot of the models have this. Now, that's just the operational run. Let's take a look at some of the ingredients and let's find out if this storm's going to have the potential to strengthen. And then let's look at the upper level pattern and find out what path it may take. Unfortunately, the GFS model and others have been pretty high on the fact that we're once again going to get a pretty favorable environment for development. We're going to start it right here Friday morning of this week. Remember, folks, this is not that far away. I mean, we're talking about 4 or 5 days at this point. Here we go. Here's where that little wave is. And notice, not a lot of wind shear. Now, the darker the colors you see, the stronger the upper level winds. The lighter the colors are basically where you just don't see colors at all. That's where winds are not quite as strong. That's one part of the puzzle. The other part of the puzzle is what direction are the winds blowing? And by the time we get here Saturday morning, now this center of circulation kind of running over the islands, so unable to get super strong because of that. But the upper level pattern, we have more difluence aloft. This is the same thing that just happened with Erin. Winds in the upper levels blowing in opposite directions, creating that void that has to be filled, and it gets filled by air rushing in at the surface, which creates lower pressure. That creates stronger winds, so on and so forth. Basically, though, what it means is, yeah, we have the potential to get a pretty strong storm because of that. Now, that continues, and again, this thing gets trapped right under one of these upper-level anticyclones. Very favorable upper-level wind environment on the GFS. And then eventually runs into some shear after it's off the southeast coastline. But at that point, we don't even know if it's going to be off the southeast coastline in the Gulf or where. But indications are the upper level pattern could be favorable here. And as far as moisture, here it comes. I mean, you can see the wave in here, some dry air around it for sure, but kind of like Erin, closed off in its own little envelope of moisture, which could very much be productive for cyclogenesis, and then hits a pocket of even more moisture there near the Bahamas right around a week from now, that being next Monday, and obviously the storm strengthens because of it. Now, that means ingredients relatively favorable. Another thing we know, ocean temperatures are out here off the charts. I mean, super warm. The only thing that maybe would help us there is if this were to track right where Erin did, it could run into some upwelling. But again, to be seen on the exact track. Just know conditions generally favorable for development in this part of the Atlantic in that time frame. Let me show you one more model run just to say I showed you two. Here's the European. Same general idea. Gets this going north of the island chain here by the end of this week and into the start of next week. The European pulls it on out to sea pretty quickly. But again, these are just two operational runs. I showed you the ensembles. The ensembles were much more, intrigued about the fact that this could get closer to Florida, maybe into the Gulf, maybe into the northern Bahamas. So plenty of time to watch it and see where it goes. But I'll tell you this much, the upper level steering current is one that will need to be watched. This is a week from today, next Monday. Remember, the storm kind of in this general vicinity near the Bahamas. And it's a little similar to the Erin forecast. We've got this big ridge out here. How strong is that? That's one question. But either way, I think we're going to have a big trough up into the United States in that time frame. The question being, though, how strong is that trough? How far south does it get? Either way, whatever storm there is will want to get pulled up towards that. But does it wait to get pulled up till it's near the Gulf? Does it get pulled up well on out to sea? Plenty of possibilities, but I think those arrows you see are a general good idea of where the storm could go. And I know that's a big field, a big play of options here. Playbook is completely open, but it's going to get pulled north somewhere. Question is where? Is that in the Gulf? Is that right over Florida? Is that off the southeast coast? And then plenty of other questions to be answered as well, including intensity, exact timing, and all those wonderful things, but definitely something worth watching. All right, that's your update on the tropics. A lot going on out there. Let's go on back home and let's bring it back to that big blue blob you see that is going to bring a taste of fall by the time we get on into next week. Hottest day of the month so far for some of us out there. It's feeling like summer, but as I mentioned, signs of fall on the horizon. Now, we've got some rain up here into the northern tier of the plains in the Midwest, and as has been the forecast, I've been telling you for multiple days now, we'd get rounds of these storms, and we are seeing some flooding because of it. It's been a pretty wet summer up here, so, definitely take those flooding precautions. have a way to get those watches and warnings, and more rain on the way today for portions of southern Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, and then even into likely northern Illinois. South of there, the heat is on. Heat advisories in orange, excessive heat warnings in the more pinkish colors, and definitely feeling warm, hot, and muggy. The Northeast, a little bit different than everyone else, a little bit cooler, and the dew point's a lot lower, so it feels quite nice actually for a lot of us up here. And honestly, a pretty nice summer for the Northeast. I keep saying that, but I mean, you folks have gotten plenty of these backdoor cold fronts bringing drier conditions. Now you've had your own heat waves as well, but not a bad stretch of weather up there into New England. So enjoy it. And always, a side tangent here, I think New England would be such a beautiful place to live this time of year, especially when things start to cool down, starts to get into fall season. I definitely think that September through October timeframe would be, kind of peak up here. Also the mountains of Colorado, just seeing the leaves change out there, which only a month away from that as well. So we're working on through summer. We're getting through it, almost done with it, and seeing fall on the horizon. What about that blueberry I told you about? Well, the next couple of days is going to remain hot. We've got this big ridge in the east, really across the entire country. I say the east, from sea to shining sea, it's hot right now due to that, but going to get kicked back out west, so remaining hot out west, and then a big old blueberry trough on the way. This is by the start of next week, so only a week from now. I've been mentioning that this was near the 10-day range. We've now moved ahead into time, and it's getting closer, and the model's latching onto it even more. This is a big trough, basically a big shot of cooler, drier air, and some storminess that will lead it in. So, typical frontal fashion ongoing with a system like this. Well, what could it look like? Well, remember, next couple of days, still watching some showers and storms moving up through the northern plains, especially the Midwest, I should say, that Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa, and kind of surrounding state region. Other than that, just some typical afternoon thunderstorm action into the Carolinas, down into portions of Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and other areas seeing some of these afternoon storms. But what's going to happen here by the middle of the week, this is Wednesday into Thursday, a weak little front sets up shop here. This is Thursday afternoon, and notice, obviously, Erin, the elephant in the room here, but we do have a weak frontal boundary draped through the southeast. That's going to increase shower and storm activity, and it's probably going to stall out here, bringing multiple days of afternoon showers and storms in a more widespread manner. Behind it, here comes the blueberry, and here comes the rain with it. By the weekend, here's Saturday afternoon, here's your low pressure, your cold front draped down into here, and a lot of afternoon storm action unfolding out in front of it, as would be expected with that sort of pattern. And you can see it just keep on going and finally clearing through, and high pressure working back in right around 10 days from now. Obviously, the exact details to be ironed out, but that seems to be a pretty safe bet, is that general forecast. Let's go ahead and take a look at how dry the air could get, how much cooler it could get, and how much rain we'll see from this frontal system, passing on through. I know I'm talking about fall weather, but let's remind ourselves it's going to be pretty muggy the next couple of days, just outside of the Northeast, though. I mean, the Northeast continuing to cash in on these really nice fall-like conditions. That muggy air, though, for everyone else, and likely even getting back into portions of the Northeast, at least, coastal regions, as Erin moves on by during the middle part of this week. Here comes the blueberry with its big shot of dry air, though. Here we go. This is by next Monday afternoon. Dew points crashing back into the 40s and 50s, all the way down through the Tennessee Valley. And by the time we get to next Tuesday, Wednesday, most of us getting in on really nice fall-like conditions, about as good as you could ask for the end of August. And perfect timing, college football starting up. And, we're looking at September and the calendar change. I mean, the Starbucks fall menu comes out at this time. A pretty good time to get one of these big, nice fall fronts to work on through. Temperature is going to get better too. Obviously hot the next couple of days, really even through this weekend, I should say. But the start of next week, big blue blob. I mean, we're talking about high temperatures, potentially 10 degrees below average with dry air with it. I mean, that's good, folks. This is next Tuesday afternoon. A lot of blue showing up, even more so here, probably due to some rain for some folks. But, 5 to 10 degrees below average. High temperatures are getting back into the 80s for most of us. So this means highs in the low 80s, upper 70s, even lower than that for some folks. Some crisp mornings could drop into the 40s up into the Midwest, would not surprise me. So definitely signs of change here on the horizon, and we'll take it. Now, what about rainfall? That's the other story. This is within a 24-hour period. So this kind of shows you where the rain is moving. Today, up in the Midwest, elsewhere, some afternoon scattered showers and storms. By the end of this week, though, notice rain chances really increasing from Friday through the weekend. We'll even say Thursday through the weekend, depending on where you're watching from. In the southeast, stalled out frontal boundary, pretty rainy forecast for us folks down this way, and then up through the eastern seaboard by the start of next week and the end of this weekend, and then drying out behind it, hopefully, as that nice, cool, again, I say cool, cooler than it is. How about that? But definitely drier air funneling in for much of us east of the Mississippi and, outside of the Gulf region where it's going to stay muggy for a while, sometimes through basically all of winter on the way. But that's your forecast. Hopefully y'all folks enjoyed it. Again, if you did, let me know in the comments. If you're new to the channel, let me know. And as always, I appreciate you folks tuning in on your busy schedule with your busy days. That's all I got for you. Y'all have a great one. Stay safe, and I'll see you all tomorrow.